do hope you're well. I have got the wonderful Pat Aherne joining me today for my Homeopathic Voices from around the world. And he's going to be joining me live from Cork in Ireland. This promises to be really, really fun. I'm just going to connect. Pat has been a guest on my podcast, the Homeopathy Health Podcast, and we spoke a great many things actually about homeopathy in farming, homeopathy for agriculture, and if ever there was an expert, Pat certainly is one, alongside, of course, Tracy Simpson. And Tracy is from New Zealand. She is also the owner of Homeopathic Farm Services. So there's a lot of work going on, and that's just two examples that I've mentioned. There's many, many more where homeopaths or people generally are using homeopathy for farming, for their dairy cows, and for their crops as well. Just waiting for Pat to join. So it's 3 o'clock here in the UK, and it's also 3 o'clock in Ireland as well. So yes, looking forward to that. Time zones are a funny thing, aren't they? Because with this series, Homeopathic Voices, it's quite interesting. Because I'm hold on 1 second. I'm just going to send. To go live. Okay, just some technical issues. It's all fun though, isn't it? But yeah, I was talking about time zones. It's quite interesting, isn't it, with time zones? Because someone just mentioned it's 5 p.m. in Lebanon, but with the US and especially with New Zealand, and Australia, and anywhere, I suppose, anywhere outside of Europe as such, it's much more than 2 hours. So trying to work out the timings is quite fun actually, and I have to say I get it wrong many times, because especially when it comes to Australia, that always seems to be quite difficult for me. It's usually because they're so ahead and I'm working out the times, so going back, and I don't know what it is, so it's fun. So there we are, we finally connected with Pat Aherne, who is the one and only homeopath farmer from Cork in Ireland. Hi, Pat.
Hello. I don't know what you say. I'm an expert. I was hearing you in the background there on my PC, and I also classify me as the one and only. I'd be feeling very uncomfortable in that.
Well, you're the one and only AKA homeopath farmer. We know that, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I did coin that phrase. All right.
How are you, my friend?
Very good now. Very good. I've been enjoying there, watching and playing back your episodes there of the production team there with introducing homeopathy. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, they took on a huge project without a doubt, and promoting it, and hopefully the farmers will in the UK will get their airtime on that on that film, because I know them, I've met them, and exceptional farmers, and honestly they know their stuff, and they have, as I said, every word that comes out of their lips, out of their mouths is hardcore truth. There's no sugarcoating anything they're saying. It's the real deal.
It's really amazing the work that's being done, and that's of course why I thought it was pertinent to get you back on. And for those who aren't aware, Pat, as I mentioned at the beginning, has been on the podcast, my Homeopathy Health Podcast, and hopefully later this summer, Pat will be on again. But I thought in between, it was important to get you back on to talk about what you've been up to and how homeopathy, what you're doing as far as homeopathy is concerned. I think it's really important, because when I speak to people, patients, and generally just to the public, when you talk about homeopathy, it's always human homeopathy, but it's so vast. and you're a prime example of that. It's not just animal homeopathy; it's homeopathy for farming in general, or agriculture, and so much more, soil health, and I thought it'd be very interesting for you to share some of your insights about how you're progressing with that.
Well, I suppose, yes, since we were last talking anyway, I kind of did push the boundaries a little bit there in the last 12 months. I followed a bit of Camilla Schur last year, and I actually touched base with her and got direct contact with her, and she was very helpful via WhatsApp. And I decided to take a chance at growing whole crop. I was growing multi-species, which is kind of some farmers just call it growing grass at weeds. I think if you look into it more, it's about breaking open the soil more, aerating, getting more minerals and trace elements out of the soil. You have far healthier fodder for the animals. There's less chemicals involved. And then, of course, hence those plants are fixing the nitrogen. Hence, they should grow the grass. The grass is failing to grow. So hence I says, okay, do I have to take a step back here and put in the nitrogen, which I'm trying to reduce? And I decided, then some other organic farmers said to me, no, Pat, why don't you plant peas and peas and barley and wheat? So I decided to go with peas and barley, and hence the peas would fix the nitrogen, and hence you get a whole crop bale, which would be good feeding for the springtime on fresh calved cows. So we'll be talking about 20% protein, and first cut silage is what they're on at the moment. Plus another farmer then offered me crimson clover, which is 25% protein. He's an organic farmer, and that was one of his cover crops, and asked me would I take it instead of it rotting into the ground. So back to my own crop then, the whole crop, without a doubt, it fixed the nitrogen. The grass grew with the whole crop and got established. And then when the crop was taken off, 3 weeks later, the cows were into the field grazing without any chemical nitrogen applied whatsoever. So that, and it's still pretty much growing without any chemical inputs put into it. I think the biggest finding I had there, and it was without a doubt a credit to Camilla, I said that the birds are attacking the peas. They were chasing the protein. So I said, so then it had dawned on me. I said, why don't I? Is it possible to create the energy of a bird of prey on the pigeons? And Googled that, and yes, of course, the hawk and the eagle would be two of the birds of prey. But asked Camilla, I said, like, is this daft? I said, spraying around the field or putting it through the sprayer or something like that. And she says, no, you would be creating an energy, you would be creating a signal. So walk around. At the time, she said, just spray the four corners and then walk in the next to create the energy to connect in the field. Like, sounds pretty daft. But when you have, like myself, a basic understanding of the power of homeopathy and energy, quantum physics level of energy, you're going to give it a go. And like now, the fields, this is 5 acres. There's a trial crop to see how this will grow. And I gave it, I said, I'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. Because this place now is pretty much black with pigeons. Scarecrow wasn't working. Because there was no wind. It was one of these hawk kites. So they were having a field day swooping in. And I went out so I got hawk and pigeon made up of it. I put it into a knapsack sprayer and I walked around the headland because I said to her, that's not going to work just spraying spots because the ground is bone dry. There's no moisture in the ground. Won't travel in the ground. So she said, yeah, look, just walk the headland and then crisscross again the field, so to create literally an energy dome over the field. And I did that, and I could honestly say at 30C there was a reduction in the amount of birds in there, but still I wanted the pigeons out of there because I wanted my peas. That the peas were the protein for the whole crop bales afterwards. And so then I went back and he said, look, will I up this to 200? And she's like, yeah, okay, go up to 200. There's just some birds not picking up at 30C that there is something inside the field. Now, on the top half of the field is a soccer training ground. So I walked around that perimeter. So then hence my field then was that dome. And then there's a shed is next to the field. So I was able to go upstairs and I was taking off my knapsack sprayer and I was looking out the window. So I went down, repeated the exercise a week later with the 200. And literally you could see the pigeons swooping in to the field and then literally just pulling back out again and landing into the soccer training ground. And they spent about an hour, maybe 2 hours, wandering around the soccer training ground, literally walking up to the fence or walking up to the boundary that I had created and just literally walking back again, as in they just were unsure of themselves. They just were not comfortable about going into that field because whatever minute quantum physics energy of a signal was being radiated out of that field, to them, there was a hawk or an eagle. There was a threat inside there and it wasn't worth picking the peas out of the field. And literally dispersed, gone. And that was it. I had a mighty crop. For a crop that was grown without any chemical input whatsoever, I think I averaged just a little 9.25 tons.
Wow.
Which is exceptional. One guy, all right, did text me. He says, well, I got 10.5 tons. And I just asked him, I says, what did you do? And he goes, oh, I put out 4 bags of 10, 10, 20. And so I was like, well, that's kind of defeating the purpose. I said, it didn't even pay you to put it out. At that, like, you know, for the sake of one bale, well, 1.25 bales, literally. And he said, he just said that basically, he said, well, look, I needed it. I needed that extra bale. I was like, yeah, grand, look, whatever suits you, and that's it, like, you know. So yeah, that was a big thing. Silica went out at the time of planting, so as to strengthen the plant, to strengthen the cell wall of the plant. Now, homeopathy in humans at C potencies and X potencies, and homeopathy in plants is at a totally different potency level, a completely different science, because hence plant structure and the plant science, or whatever you want to call it, is different to humans. That's why I suppose you could say the in-between piece is the animals that graze the plants that we then live off of afterwards, so as to create us as we are today with, I suppose, animal protein, and how over, I suppose, 100,000 years we have developed our level of intelligence. And that's a big thing I have with a certain subsection of society, saying that we used to eat leaves and berries and plants solely. Well, yeah, that's highly debatable. But anyway, that's another subject for another day. But so basically, it's totally different, that kind of homeopathy. But I was, as I said, look, this is all trial and error and learning. And you know what? I enjoyed doing it. But I had an open day. Before I harvested the crop, I had an open evening with the local young farmers organisation. There was about 140 people turned up. They saw the crop in the field, and afterwards people were months later asking me and saying, fair juice, that crop was some crop for something that got no crop. That got no chemical input. You said the colour was outstanding. And the one thing I've noticed with a dramatic reduction in the amount of nitrogen, chemical nitrogen, going into my winter feed, I've noticed this year now is the cows are eating a lot slower. Instead of, shall we say, like the big thing here with farming is, you must grow 14 tons of feed of grass to be able to feed the cows during the year and harvest your grass for the winter. And that, if you were to put that into very simple terms, that's like being told to grow 14 tons of highly processed fast food burgers. Or would you prefer to grow 7 or 9 tons of fillet steak? Because you're going to be filled on 7 tons of fillet steak compared to 14 tons. You're still going to be hungry. You're still going to want more, and keep eating. Yeah. And it's just the amount of, shall we say, toxicity going into the system, or just going around in one vicious circle that requires inputs afterwards. Like health-wise of the animals is dramatic. So like the homeopathy has worked in its own right, is working consistently in the background, and I'm doing slightly different things, tweaking it as I go along. Is I can see without a doubt the health benefits are huge. Like hoof health in a dairy herd is a chronic problem because they're just constantly on the go, they're constantly under pressure. I haven't lifted a cow's leg, or I haven't even hoof batted the cows with chemicals, which then the chemicals are put into the slurry tank. The slurries then out in the soil. The soil microbes are being put under massive pressure with what you're the farmer who is being advised and is rightly doing what they're doing correctly because they have been advised. Unfortunately, the big question here is they don't ask questions and say, hold on a second, this is my farm, it's my soil, I want healthy food growing on my farm. And if you were to ask that question back to mainstream, they can't give you an answer because they've only contradicting themselves. So they have kind of gone down the road of common sense farming, and just saying, hold on, reduce the chemicals.
I think you're certainly leading the way, and this example that you've just given about the energy field that's created as a result of spraying, the four corners and then crisscrossing. For when you mention that to someone else, they just think you haven't got a clue what you're doing. You're mad. You've gone bonkers. But you've seen it work. And I say this to so many people that you just have to try it. Don't dismiss something until you've actually tried it for yourself and experienced it. It's so important, and it's the same for farming. You're certainly leading the way with what you're doing. And I remember the video that you sent me with the peas and the grass last year, which I posted on my reels, and you're chewing away, and you said it would take, but you could tell that you were chewing away the peas, and that was that could have been an advert for TV, actually, the way you did that. But it was so nice because the color was really something. It was different. When something is pure and fresh because the color, I don't know what the word would be, but you can tell that from that color that there's purity in there. There's no marks, there's no dull fading of that color itself, and you can tell it was healthy. Even the grass, you took a video of the grass, and it was absolutely stunning. So if that's what's being achieved, my God, what does homeopathy? The potential is huge, isn't it, for farming, agriculture in general around the world?
Oh, it is huge, and like as I said, it is a different field of homeopathy. Like there is trials being done around the world, and I'm not talking about your 10-acre trial out the back of a research centre. There's trials, and I've seen the videos of literally I think 800, 1,000, 1,200 hectare trials been done of beans and rice and cotton. No chemical inputs, just literally homeopathy, energy work being done on the soil, and literally getting and matching, in some cases matching chemical farming, and in other cases surpassing the yields of chemical farming, and the crops are far superior.
Amazing.
And it's early days, but I think I suppose at my little corner of the world, it's I suppose it's, as I said, I own this. I'm proud of what I own. I'm passionate about it, and I just want to sleep easy at night knowing the animals are healthy. I don't have to be worried about what's the next health bill. I mean, here I am worried about the next health bill of the animals, and there's humans out there, or not humans, people out there worrying about the next, how am I going to finance the next health bill, when this video or this film that's coming out introducing homeopathy is going to tell you there is a second option available to you.
Absolutely.
And that's how I think I originally started off in this, is that to me homeopathy was for people. I mean, and it just didn't click that the animal was the same. And then eventually I kind of said to myself, hold on a second, if it can work on humans, well then why can't it work on animals? And the same is with people who dismiss homeopathy in people saying it's quackery. Well then, it's a case of, well, how is this guy making this work on animals? Well, if it can work on animals, well, why can't it work on humans?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what you've said is so timely, because Kim Alia was on yesterday, as you know, on this series, Homeopathic Voices, and he was answering a question which was to do with, the changing landscape and how homeopathy is at this moment in time and what this film is going to do. And he mentioned that the examples are not just human, but animals as well. Animals don't know anything about placebo, for example. Infants, children, they don't know what's going on. They're not that developed to understand. So, and certainly from your perspective, um, dairy cows, and certainly your soil, your crop, how are they going to know, right? And we can see the results. And for anyone who wants to know, if you, although it's some time back on my reels, but I'll try to post them again. In fact, Pat, we are talking live, so if you have any new fresh videos, send them across, and I'll put them out as a series, as far as homeopathy in farming. Let's do one here as well,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would ask the listeners here and the ones going to listen back on YouTube and Insta, that have a look, because you'll see the change. You'll see what it's doing for the landscape as far as agriculture is concerned. It's incredible. It really is life-changing. And again, you just have to experience it. It's fine reading about things, but until you've experienced something, that's the greatest testament, is to do it or to use it, and then you will see the power that homeopathy has.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, this is the February, and February in Ireland is probably the busiest month and most sleep deprived month for dairy farmers,
Well,
because
you look
all
all
the
right.
cows, again, down to the use of homeopathy and tweaking it over the last number of years. And I have the graphs. I did a webinar this time last year with Whole Health Agriculture, which is the learning centre in the UK, but it's worldwide. And I did a webinar with them, and I talked about the remedies that I use during the year and right through the dairy year, milking year, the dry period, prepping for calving, post-calving, pre-fertility, post-fertility. And literally the national average for fertility in the dairy herd, or infertility in the dairy herd in Ireland, would be 12%. You'd be doing well now if you got 12% empty rate. Some farmers, there would be some farmers down there at 10 and 8%. Then when you pull back the surface and realize there's a lot of fertility work, as in implants and hormone treatment being done and all that. To me, that's kind of cheating. Or as one fella, the Why Wait program, I think he referred to it. I hadn't a clue what he meant by that. And he says, "Oh, you're putting in hormone treatment and all this," and so then, yeah, it's, as I said, 12%. In some cases, last year now was a rough year. It was brutal on dairy, brutal on tillage. The weather was just against us the whole time. And I asked the guy scanning, and he said to me that there's lads there, he said, at 18% empty. And in some cases, he said, I don't know, they didn't even get, there was a virus going around that ran riot on some herds. But he said, there's guys there, they're 30% empty. And they didn't even get hit by the virus, he said. And here I am, 5% empty. And that's 5% in 10 weeks. Literally, I'll be done and dusted maximum just shy of 11 weeks. The last cow, depending how enthusiastic she is to go back into the workforce, probably she's enthusiastic. So basically, so here I am at 5%. I was averaging 8%. The graphs, all the paperwork is there to show how it improved year after year after year. And last year it was a big difference. Now, and then hence there was better conception to first service, which this has proved the pudding this year. I'm just a little over 25 days into my calving, and 75% of the herd is calved in less than 4 weeks. And of that, 10% calved between midnight and 6 a.m. In other words, I pretty much slept my way through the calving. As you can see, I don't have black sacs under my eyes. Just proof the pudding there. Look, they're lovely, healthy eyes there.
Well, you look very handsome, okay? And we know you're getting your beauty sleep.
I can assure you, Teak, I would not be doing this video if I was utterly exhausted
I know.
from sleep. So like, that's you know, and my angle of fertility in the herd is, and that's what my webinar was the emotional and psychological effect of birth and of conception, and it to manage the female through that, and if you're to manage that, and in that, hence you get results like I'm getting, and basically, again, it's back to, well, like there's couples out there spending thousands upon thousands on IVF, the heartbreak, the emotional trauma of it. And if they're watching this at any stage and they're kind of going, hold on a second, if he can do that on a hard-working four-legged animal, well, why can't it be done on me? And,
absolutely.
Well, go visit your local homeopath and find out, basically.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that because I've had many couples who have gone through the IVF route, and sadly, you know, it didn't work out for them. And then we've tried the homeopathic, and some of them have ended up, honestly, they've had God's honest truth, some of them ended up with twins, you know, and they're like, they're chuffed to bits, because it's like, this is great. We always wanted 2 kids. It's done first time round. We don't have to worry now, you know. Got a family of 4, happy as anything. And that's the power of homeopathy. And it doesn't take years. It literally can take a very short span of time, you know.
Yeah, without a doubt. And like, I suppose another thing, and it's again, it's as I said, it's there's a bit of pulling and swaying and looking and spreading my boundaries more. It's like last year again, I introduced a product, it was called Zeolite, into the system, and from what I could read in scientific papers, how they say, the scientific papers were saying such and such about zeolite. It's a detoxant. It cleanses the soil, and so on. So I said I'd give it a go, and again, I can honestly say that that literally was taking, like, we live in an extremely toxic environment. We created this environment over the last 70 years. Even though you can see on a beautiful day 2 miles out in front of you, it's God only knows what's between you and that point that you're looking at, and what you're inhaling, what's falling in your skin, what's falling on the side. Like, don't be under any illusion. Yes, here in Ireland, and I will vouch for Irish agriculture 100%. Yes, we produce some of the best products in the world out there. Our food, our quality of food is superior. Our management, our record keeping, our everything is superb. It cannot be questioned. But can we do better? Yes, we can. Does that mean by going on organic? I don't think so. I'm not a big fan of organic farming, because it's just another layer of work that the farmer doesn't require. I like to have a, I suppose, how would you say, sit on the fence maybe, which, look, if something goes wrong, don't question it, and you don't have the time, just get an antibiotic and deal with it and get on top of the problem, and then go back over what went wrong and correct it homeopathically or by other means. Whereas if you're going down this route of saying, well, I'm an organic farmer, yeah, it's great, but it just limits your options. And that's why, shall I say, the likes of using this zeolite to trial it, and yeah, it's, shall I say, no animal got sick anyway, or no animal was unnecessarily or anything like that. And hoof health, again, dramatic improvement, because again, the grass in the field, in my opinion, my own personal opinion, it was a far superior product that they were eating. It was just less toxins, less chemicals. Their livers weren't intoxicated as much, or they weren't trying to work their livers as harder. It will see over the next number of years, will the cows live longer because they have better, healthier livers? If so, that's without a doubt a benefit to the environment and the carbon sequestering, because hence animals are living longer. I need less young stock coming up the line to fill that space. Like the options available are huge, but you have to be willing to open your mind and think outside the box.
You've got some nice comments received. There's a few nice words from here and Grace. I can't actually see that. Sorry, even though I've got glasses on. Oh, sorry, here and Grace's hair salon. And then Lisa Corcoran says, that's how I found you, Pat. I think your work on the farm with cows is amazing and had huge correlation to women. And then again, here and Grace's hair salon say, I agree with you on the organic. Lisa, well done, Pat. Oh, Lisa, yeah. Lisa Anderson, should I say. So yeah, fans of yours, of course. And it's so good. You know, I have to say, Pat, that you're an extremely humble individual, but honestly, and I don't need to say this, I think you already know, but I talk about you to everyone I talk about homeopathy to, because it's an example of, it's not just human homeopathy. When I talk homeopathy, and like when many other homeopaths indeed are doing the same, I always mention you because we're talking about farming, and I always mention Tracy Simpson, who of course you introduced me to, you know, and it's so important. But the work you're doing is honestly groundbreaking, and it's setting the stage that in a few years, you know, I'm quite confident that you will be the go-to person, and that's 1000% deserved, because you're doing the work and you're seeing that experience. And for homeopathy in farming, and just for general health in crops, agriculture, let's say, it's so important to have someone who's actually experienced that, and you're one of the few. But so yeah, I mean, bravo to you. I think it's absolutely incredible. It's very, very inspiring. You know, I'm a human homeopath. Well, I do treat cats and dogs, right, and horses. But you know, when it comes to if somebody was to ask me, oh, well, what about farming and what about homeopathy for crops? And I'd say, well, hey, here's this guy. Speak to Pat Aherne. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing, and he's got the experience. So hats off to you, my friend. Brilliant. It's very inspiring.
Yeah. Like, I don't take that lightly, that phrase light or whatever way. You know, I nearly kind of cover myself by, maybe I'm bluffing my way through this, like maybe. No. But then when I see the results, well, that worked. You know, and I'm not I'm not saying you don't have to go to college to be qualified in what you do. Because
absolutely.
What did I hear? What did one guy there? He's an environmentalist. I can't think of his name, and he said some of the most. We've created a system where the most intelligent people go to college and they come out brain dead years later, and literally you've drilled common sense out of them.
Yeah.
And they just, if it's not written on paper, well, then it can't work. And you know, if I was to have stuck to my mainstream system of farming, I honestly, it'd be a very boring life, very boring. I'd be very downbeat. I'd be just going, what the hell did I get into this game for? Because you know what, to be a farmer, it takes sheer stupidity and guts.
It's hard, isn't it?
A calling. It's like, you know what? There's one thing being a vocation to being either a religious person or a vocation to being a nurse. I can tell you, being a farmer, it is sheer dedication, because everything is being thrown against you. Like, and in particular, the weather. The weather would just break anybody's heart. You just go.
It's just as bad here. It's been raining for 6 months. I mean, I've had enough.
Yeah. But like as I said, like, to be grand, next year will be different. So
a quick shout out to Ashley Mendoza, a good friend of mine, wonderful homeopath from the US. I was on with Ashley recently, and she's coming on to Homeopathic Voices very, very soon. It's going to be an excellent conversation. So hello to Ashley. Pat, what else have you been up to? What else is in store now? What are the next 3 months? I mean, what goes on as far as you're concerned in the farm?
So the next 3 months, again, I'm going to be doing the whole crop again, planting again the multi-species, and doing the whole cropping again. The downside of doing this is that instead of feel being out of action for 6 weeks, it'll be out of action for 12 weeks. But hence you get a winter crop for your cows. That's the advantage there. So what I'm probably looking at doing slightly is I probably will do the eagle, the bird, call it the bird scare remedy combo.
Yeah.
It on the seeds beforehand, or else I'll spray it. I'll treat the ground before I go spraying, so the energy is there, or the signaling is there. So the silica, the birds of prey scare, or whatever, it'll be in there. Tissue salts will be in there. Also heat, dehydration, drought, heat stress, all of that. Your belladonna, natmer, I think, is dehydration, salt, all of that put in. I'll do that in one field. Now, one field has got the zeolite put out in it via the slurry, and another field has got humic pellets put out in it. And it'll be interesting to see how each one will perform. Basically, then it's just getting the cows, prepping the cows again for pre-fertility work. I suppose call it post-birth work and pre-fertility, and getting them ready and for hopefully another successful breeding season. And after that, it's between now and June. It's all on a wing and a prayer.
Oh wow!
There's no downtime. In November, I suppose, going way out to the end of the year, myself and the most esteemed Tom Farrington, and who's a retired homeopathic vet from West Cork with 40 years experience. He's an exceptional mind. Myself and himself have got together, and we'll be doing a one-day workshop on mastitis and fertility in the dairy herd in Ballymaloe School in East Cork. So
that's so important. Is that going to be? Are you able to stream that online, because you'll get so many people from around the world being able to join?
We could, but I think in person.
Yeah.
It's in person is you're meeting the vet and you're meeting the farmer in person. There's just that connection. There's that connection.
But do make it available, because you know what's going to happen is so many people in the US, this homeopathy in farming is or agro-homeopathy, whichever you call it, it's becoming a big deal in the US as well. I speak to so many homeopaths there, and I think it'll be really helpful, especially coming from someone like yourself, who's literally at the deep end, but in the best way, using it day in, day out, and seeing the results time and again. So but do share some videos so that I can share with others as well. I think that's another way we can start doing this, because I'm really keen to promote this. It's so important. Homeopathy is so versatile, and it's so malleable, isn't it? You can change and you can mold it as you want, and I just find that, wow, brilliant. It's so brilliant, and it's doing so many incredible things.
I suppose Dr. Aherne, that had invented homeopathy, he'd done a huge amount of work, was well respected amongst his peers at the time. And as I say to people, if modern medicine is this brilliant, well then why is it that the only doctor in medical history that has a monument dedicated to him is a homeopath? There is no conventional doctor has a monument or a plaque or anything recognizing their work. So that's one question. But
I love it.
One statement I make.
I can imagine you having that conversation with somebody in your unique style. Well, hang on a minute, mate. Let me give you a fact.
But see, I suppose it's a case, if I was having that conversation, it's okay, again, you're back to like, here they would be kind of going, I spent 7 years in university, and I can get away saying, but sure, I'm only the old tick farmer, like, what would I know? So I can kind of bluff my way out of it of sorts.
You talk about uni, and you mentioned about studying. My uncle said to me, he said, he said, you've done your education, the homeopathy side and everything. He said, you've read the books, everything. Now throw the books away. As a figure of speech. He said, use your brain, use your mind. Don't get bogged down to keep referring to books. He said, now you be yourself as a homeopath, and just go forward. And whatever way you go, you'll be okay as long as your intention is there and you really want to help people, and everything will just fall into place.
Yeah.
How true it was as well.
But like as I said, homeopathy is energy, it's energy work, and then you've got various other things, different types of energy modalities.
Yeah.
You've got radionics, that kind of thing, and where I recently came across a snippet with the Incas. And how the Europeans arrived over and they couldn't get over the amount of food and cropping and intercropping that they had. These huge successful farms, we'll call it, growing these crops in the middle of the jungle, and literally it was being done on energy work, whatever type. But of course the Europeans had invented big huge sailing boats and they were more intelligent, and what did they do? They wiped out all that information. And yeah, we're only beginning to pick up where they were at that stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pat, it's been a real joy to talk to you, and I very much hope we can meet in person very soon. I am thinking of coming over to Ireland. I might start at Dublin because I've got a good homeopathic friend there. But then I'll cross over, and then because I wanted to head over to Galway to meet some family. So along the way, I think we can make a nice trip of it, and I'll come over, and perhaps we can do a podcast or an Insta live from there, live from the farm.
Oh, we could, yeah. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah, that'd be
nice.
Good.
It's been a schedule.
When is it planning that?
I'm thinking around. Well, actually, you're busy till June, aren't you? You just said.
Yeah, kind of June. Yeah.
So let's see. Maybe summertime is usually a bit better for me as well.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be really worthwhile as well. And hey, maybe we can get Tracy involved as well and do a trilogy of instas from there. About and live ones. Invite people officially as well. So they can have a look at the farm and see the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
I'll follow you
Yeah.
around. I've got my little tripod to hold on to and take the camera around.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, we can be thinking about it or working on it anyway. Something anyway. Yeah.
Brilliant. Pat, it's been an absolute honor, honestly. I love talking to you. You're such an inspiration, honestly. It's so nice, and God bless you for everything that you're doing. It's honestly brilliant. Who knows how many lives you're changing, where people are looking at your work and they're thinking, hang on a minute, I can do this. And the rest is history, isn't it? It's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. And I can honestly say, even with I coming up with the idea of the energy with the pigeons and scaring them off. Look, it mightn't work this time on this field, and that's a part of the learning process of the next time. And but because it has worked once, means that it's just tweaking it. And as I said, I went out the first time with 30C, and today, if I was a first timer, I would and saw the birds still landing, I would have said that didn't work, utter waste of time. But as I said, I had noticed the number was reduced, and I said, hold on a second. And as I was told day one in homeopathy is a single remedy is like listening to a beautiful choir singer, and a combination is like listening to a finely tuned choir. And the same with the potencies, you're fine tuning. So by going back in at the 200C, I fine-tuned it. And as somebody who does actually soil work and energy work, he said the soil, the energy within the field actually balanced the potency itself. It's self-regulated to literally scare off the birds. So he said, you don't know, but that could have settled down at 150 C potency.
Yeah.
And hence, but it worked. And hopefully I'll get it right again this time.
Brilliant. You must send me those videos of what you're doing. That's so important, because it's real work. And I will commit to you that I will always share them. I'll make some nice reels from them, and let's really get this going as well.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Perfect.
Thank you so much, and I will talk to you very soon. All
You
right.
too. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.